Overseas now, and world powers have expressed the deepest despair at the appalling tragedy unfolding in Syria. The United Nations has described the situation in Aleppo as a humanitarian catastrophe unlike anything seen since the Syrian war began more than 5 years ago. The US says it's now on the verge of ending talks with Russia unless it agrees to stop fighting. Anne Barker reports.
In the hellhole that is eastern Aleppo, a tiny glimmer of hope. Dramatic footage has emerged of a 5-year-old girl being pulled alive from the rubble of an airstrike. Rescue workers call to her after finding her buried in the ruins of a 5-storey building. "We're coming for you," they cry. As they pull her out, the little girl screams for her papa to hold her hand. But for one girl saved, another 23 people were killed in the same airstrike, her father probably among them. For more than a week, Russian and Syrian warplanes have launched hundreds of airstrikes to recapture the city's east from rebel forces. The United Nations has expressed a deepening despair. Its Under-Secretary for Humanitarian Affairs is Stephen O'Brien.
Let me be clear. East Aleppo this minute is not at the edge of the precipice. It is well into its terrible descent into the pitiless and merciless abyss of a humanitarian catastrophe unlike any we have witnessed in Syria, with no access by the United Nations since the 7th of July, and the health sector in East Aleppo is now reportedly on the very verge of total collapse.
Of real concern, he says, is the use of new weaponry that can reach even those sheltering deep underground.
The alleged use of new bunker-busting bombs has reportedly caused mass destruction in an area that has already been decimated. This means that I've received reports that there are bodies of babies, children, women and men stuck unrecovered in the rubble of the basements up to 20 metres down where they had taken refuge and where they had been safe till the use of these new and recently introduced weapons had claimed their lives.
It's weapons like these that have caused such a staggering death toll. The US Secretary of State John Kerry says 400 people have died in Aleppo in 8 days, a quarter of them children. The US has now all but given up on the chance of a new ceasefire in Aleppo. John Kerry says talks with Russia lack sense when it refuses to stop the bombing.
I think we're on the verge of suspending the discussion because it's irrational in the context of the kind of bombing taking place to be sitting there trying to take things seriously. There's no notion or indication of a seriousness of purpose with what is taking place right now.
The US has left open the door for a change of heart in Moscow, but Russia says it will continue to support the Syrian government's campaign, and a Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, Maria Zakharova, blames the US for the failed ceasefire. We underline once again the need for the separation of so-called peaceful opposition and terrorists. We call firstly on the United States and all those in the region who have a relevant influence to produce such a separation. Only in this way can peace be fulfilled. The US insists it won't use military force against the Syrian government, but efforts to find a political solution appear doomed, meaning for now there is no solution at all.
Anne Barker with that report.